YouTube, it's Petey Two Finger. Last night, I unfollowed all of the guitar groups that I was.
Oh, Keatus, well, Beatus, are you quiet? My little baby, come and have some tweets. You got lots of tweets, Keatus. Come on, baby. Come on, chicken boy. Get some tweets. It's okay. You don't have to cry. Keita, Mama's coming home. Mama didn't work. It's gonna work. It's coming home. It's okay. It's okay.
So, these guitar pedal related forums, you got some young guys, you got people who are kind of clueless. They're really curious about where to put the compressor in the signal chain and the phaser. They really don't know. Every once in a while, people bring up a boost, which you can kind of put a boost in a few different places. But yeah, where do you put the compressor? Every day someone's asking that question. And then what's the pedal that does the spring reverb? That's an eternal question that's asked every day. And then everyone has a Danelectro or a Behringer pedal they need rehoused. Until you tell them, oh, it's a Foxtone machine. That's a French toast. A French toast. You have a Danelectro French toast, and you want to rehouse it. Well, let's see. That's a French toast is a Foxtone machine, and you can build that. You get a kit for everything you need for $100. And I'll tell you, any self-respecting guitar player who's playing nowadays is playing through pedals. And if you're worth your weight in salt, you need to have a soldering iron, a desoldering pump, desoldering wick or braid, solder, and flux. I used plumber's flux. I can get a tub of it this big, and I remove it. I use rubbing alcohol and a toothbrush. But the stuff that I built using plumber's flux from 30 years ago all still works. But people will flip out. I got rage flipped out on recently for don't ever use plumber. I said, I remove it. And then they clammed up. But yeah, there's certain things that people have been taught that aren't really necessarily true. And especially if they're electronic engineers. So here's an example. One guy, the question was, what's your favorite tube, transistor, or op amp to boost your signal with? And I said, there's some magic mojo to be found in the LM741 low slew rate. So this electronic engineer who used to work for AT&T comes in and says, you can achieve the same effect with a proper feedback loop and any more modern, more efficient, well-designed op amp I see. And I said, well, why would I want to do that when I could just use an LM741? Well, those chips were designed back when everyone powered their op amps from bipolar plus and minus 15 volts. My reply, is that why they sound so good in every 9-volt circuit that I drop them in? He replies, yeah, if you like negative feedback. My response, the only negative feedback here is from you, pal. His response, look here, I never said anything bad about the LM741. And ooh, aren't you sensitive? And I'm like, no one asked for your opinion. This thread, they asked about what you like. And I gave an answer. Just because it doesn't jive with what you think everyone has to do, that's just showing how close-minded you are and that you can't live and let live. You should be happy for me that I found something unique that I like that's off the beaten path and a little different. And it just kind of kept going, and he was just arrogant and close-minded. It was like, you're wrong. Like, he just kept telling me, and I'm thinking, have you ever done what I've done? Like, actually try it out, swapping parts and building multiple units and testing them up against each other, like I've done. It's not just me. A guitar player who was featured in Guitar Player magazine had me build 2 of these effects for him. paid me handsomely. So it's not all up here when it comes to that circuit. And I know what it is. It's that op amp. So I'll read you a quote. This guy, yesterday I saw this and I thought, this is too good to share. Where is it here? Anybody who's built more than 3 pedals comes up with a logo and has a pedal company. Like if they built a one knob fuzz and then, Rangemaster, they're a pedal company. They're the J&J Effects, Deadbolt Customs. It never ends. This is JB Rising Star. Do people ask you to sign your pedals when they order them? This is like the 4th time someone's asked me to sign one of my pedals. I think it's weird. I think you're making that up. I think no one asked you to sign your pedal, and you're just doing it. Because in your mind, that's going to help you to build your brand, because you're dreaming about what you're going to wear when you go to NAMM. The question yesterday was, they had this bright gloss red Proco Rat and a gloss white Proco Rat that are available in Japan only. And the guy said, which one would you want? And I said, can I get one in black, flat black, with the LM308? And that's the original chip in a Rat. And honestly, most of the time, any chip doesn't really matter. But in this case, it does. And it's kind of a well-known thing. If you're going to build a Rat, you really need to have that LM308 in there, because it raises the value. And it gives you the psychological reassurance. And there is a small difference, because I've heard it. Where in most circuits, it doesn't really matter. And that's what it does for some reason with that LM308. And again, in the case with the LM741 op-amp chip, it's the same thing. These chips with the low slew rate they share that in common. So my response was, out of the really hideous looking gloss red Rat, Proco Rat, and the gloss white, I said flat black with an LM308. And this guy comes in and says, I can build you one for $150. And I said, can I get it in gold? And he goes, no gold. And I said, how about solid silver or solid platinum? And he comes back and says, these are military surplus, high quality, military spec op-amp chips. And puts a picture of this chip that's got, the paint isn't even dry on it. It's like so white, this paint on this LM308. And they stopped making those LM308s in the 80s. So if you have a legitimate LM308, it's not going to really be blindingly white on the marking, unless it's a fake. And so I said, do you mind if I ask what test you do on that op-amp chip to determine if it's not a fake? So he comes back with the laughing till he's crying emoji, which anybody who uses that's a dick move, given that as a response. It's a cop-out. So I said, well, if you can't answer that question, I'm going to have to call bullshit on this. Then the moderator, blues rock. Barr comes in and says, you two idiots are going to stop calling each other names, or I'm going to ban both of you for a week. And I come back and said, please do me a favor and permanently ban me from this unbelievably closed-minded, private, circle jerk club of guys. Because, it's like this in every one of these places. You got to have at least 3 Strymons. You got to have a EQD, Dispatch Master. You got to have a Plumes. You got to have some kind of ram's head variant. And it's like aircraft aluminum board, 15 isolated power supply with allotments for AC, 18 volt, dual 32 bipolar, 5, 3 and 3, and then 9s, hot and soft, padded out, germanium style, you name it. $300 at least on Velcro, pancake quarter-inch plugs, at least $600 worth of plugs. If you got a board that's over $5 or $6 maybe you can get into the club. You know, and there needs to be at least 3 Strymons at the end, or you're just some kid in his bedroom with a Line 6. And they used to trounce on you if you admitted to playing through anything besides a tube amp with posts like, well, that's fine for some kid in his bedroom with a Line 6, but I'm a professional touring musician. I make my bread and butter. Like, are you really? None of these guys ever have anything to show. The bigger the board, the more Strymons, the less chance that they're in a band or they've got anything to show. And if they do, it's some video of them like, I'm jamming out, like, it'll either be covers or it'll just be the worst quality cell phone video with just noise. Like Saturday on the patio with a bottleneck slide. Like, oh my God, kill my ears, please. It's like kitten rape, you know? Like the worst sound to enter your ears. And I'm not saying, I'm so great, I'm this and that, but I don't go in there and shoot people down. If I see somebody doing something different, I'll compliment them. Or I won't say anything at all. You know, you want to use expensive pen with flux in it, good for you. I use the bucket that costs $9. That's a lifetime subscription supply. So don't tear me a new one, because every time I do talk in this place, I get tore a new one. And then I posted my amp, and nobody said a word. And it's like, that's innovation, you know? Nobody's built a battery-powered amplifier that has spring reverb in it. And I'm not saying I'm some great guy for doing it. I mean, it's bound to happen. I'm sure plenty of people have built JFET front ends and used a laptop power supply to power them and put a Class D board on the front end. But nobody's doing that with a lithium-ion rechargeable battery pack and then adding real spring reverb. So, yeah, something different comes along, it's innovation, and they scroll right past it or ignore it. And I'm not butthurt. I could care less that nobody commented on my thing, but I just don't want to be attacked. I don't want to be laid into. And then if I do make a comment, I have somebody trying to shill, like, I'll build you one for $150. And I said, what makes you think I can't build that myself with Mojo components that I have in stock? I'm in my mid-50s. And then this guy comes in and he goes, you're here with me and Bear. You're in good company. We're a couple of old weirdos and we know our stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm going to ignore that. This guy's like, he must have read my post and he didn't want me to leave. Because I told him, please permaban me. This place is full of closed-minded people. I just can't take this level of conformity and narrow-minded blanket statements. If it's not on my board, it's effing garbage. That type of just closed-minded, boys club, bigoted, closed-minded thinking. I don't want to have anything to do with it. And this guy comes back and he says, me and Bear gotcha. In the age department, by the way. Like, well, that confirms what I thought. You're best friends with the guy who owns this thing, and it's just, well, we're the oldest. It's a dick measuring contest. See who's the oldest guy, who's got the biggest pedal board, and everybody else is just some kid who doesn't know what they're doing. Well, you know what? I don't have time for that, okay? I do things differently. I don't even tune my guitar like everyone else does. And that's not to say, oh, I'm so great, I'm so special, I'm so different. I'm just saying I'm tolerant of other people. And I do things differently. I kind of don't have a choice. And I do things on a budget because I kind of don't have a choice. But that doesn't nullify who I am as a person and who I am as a musician. Because I do have a lot to offer. Because I do work hard and I do accomplish my goals. And that carries a lot of weight. But at the same time, I don't have a logo. I'm not like, P&T Customs or like, two-finger designs, And I very well could. I designed my own fuzz I designed a custom overdrive. Well, that's heavily modified. But, I mean, isn't that what everyone else does? You change a couple of part values and say you designed it. Anyway, I've had it up to here with all of that closed-minded, blanket statement making elitist boys club, narrow-minded circle jerk mentality that's become the internet online guitar player modus operandi. And I have to tell you, I know that there's a huge percentage of people out there that are really good people, that treat others with respect, who don't think that their shit doesn't stink and that they're the end-all be-all. People that are working hard, accomplishing their goals, who are writing music, making interesting original music, but those aren't the people who are in these threads posting. I'm sure there's a good handful of people out there that do read this stuff, but as far as who's posting, I don't know. It just seems like it couldn't get any worse. And that's my rant. I'm not going to apologize. I just wanted to get that out there on where I stand on the constant gassing. Anytime something new comes out, you're just, oh, I've got to have it. And then you trade something else, and then you regret because the new thing that you got, it's not 18 volt. You didn't know it didn't do this. And, oh, you got to get that one back. And it's just this never-ending circle. It's like having a bunch of toys. It's like a little spoiled kid with a huge toy box full of toys. And he won't share them, and he's just a miserable little sorry piece of shit of a kid. And that's what the average everyday guitar player that you run into on these forums is all about. And I have nothing to do with that. Okay? I have pedals because I like making them, because I like playing through them, but I play through a multi-effector. So that should tell you something. And if that makes me less of a musician, then you need to rethink where you're at in your mind with all of this game. Because it isn't about who's got the biggest pedal board is the better guitarist. That's not the point. The better musician you can be is writing and getting better at your craft. And that's nothing to do with tube tone or Strymon or EQD plumes. Nothing. So don't fall into that internet trap of guessing, that what they want you to do, that consume, never-ending cycle of lusting after it, you buy it, you get the dopamine rush, and then regret. Because once you fall into that, you're trapped. It's an addiction. It's just like crack cocaine. It's just like pornography. It's just like gambling. And I'm not going to let some evil force run my mind. I'm not going to give that rent in my brain. So does that make me special, smart, or good? No. I'm just protective of myself. I know a sham. I know a trap when I see one. And it's certainly not going to crawl inside my brain and make me think I'm better than anybody else, because I don't act like that, because I'm not. I'm flawed. I just don't have time, and I can't take when I do share a little bit of who I am and how I do things, having people tell me that I'm wrong or bad, or my opinion it doesn't jive with reality for whatever reason. Because my opinion counts and matters, because I back up my walk with my talk. I back up my talk with my walk. I drop an album every year. So wait for that to come out. Let me know what you think. I'm glad you could be here and hear me rant in this video. It's getting hot. I got to turn my air conditioner back on. Play some StarCraft 2. Taking it easy today. Anyway, I'd encourage you to subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Probably turn the comments off on this one. But I'll see you guys around. Peace.